Dennis O'Rourke.
Mr Speaker, 76% of New Zealand people will be very disappointed by what they hear from the people, the members on the other side of the House, saying 76% of people will be very dissatisfied by what they've heard from members on the other side of the House, because they want something done about the problem of overseas speculators buying up New Zealand homes in competition with New Zealand people. It's as simple as that. And that is the one thing that those members opposite have not addressed. They're on the wrong side of this issue. They'll be punished for it, and they deeply deserve it. Mr Speaker, New Zealand First will support this bill because we support clearly and unequivocally restrictions on overseas buyers competing for and buying up New Zealand homes in competition with especially young New Zealand people seeking their first home. There are too many speculators in the market, and too many of them are overseas speculators. And we know, because I have seen many examples of advertisements in overseas newspapers by overseas real estate agents imploring people in overseas countries to invest in New Zealand houses because they can make a killing on them. That much is beyond doubt. And the damage that does to the New Zealand housing market is perfectly clear to everybody except those deadhead members opposite who don't understand the reality of what's going on. Now, Mr Speaker, that clearly means that there will be a contribution to rapidly increasing and hugely increasing house prices in New Zealand, and especially in Auckland. And nothing that an overseas speculator does in the New Zealand market can ever be of any value to the New Zealand economy or to New Zealand people. So it's a no-gain situation as far as overseas speculators are concerned. Of course, we in New Zealand First are also concerned about immigration and the effect of that, excessive immigration on house prices as well. But that's another issue for another time, because that's not covered in this bill, but it is still a significant issue. Now, Mr Speaker, while New Zealand First will support this bill, we do have some issues that we would like to discuss, especially at the select committee stage, because it actually doesn't go far enough, or in other words, is too conditional as far as New Zealand First is concerned. And the first of these relates to the provisions of the bill in which it says that non-residents will be granted permission to purchase a residential property only if they intend to live here permanently, or their purchase adds to our existing housing stock. We have some issues with that. First of all, we are not sure about how it could be properly shown whether a person intends to live here permanently or not. So we would need to investigate whether that's actually a practical proposal. In addition to that, purchasing existing housing stock can also be problematical, because what it could simply mean is that somebody builds a house which was already going to be built by a developer anyway, and that actually doesn't mean that there would really be any increase in the housing stock as a result of that. So that again seems to me to be a practical obstacle to the proposal. What New Zealand First says is there should be a much more simple proposal than that, and that would be simply to make sure that if a person does not have permanent residence in New Zealand or does not have citizenship, then they simply cannot buy property in New Zealand. And you can see other countries in the world, especially China and many others, where that is the situation. And New Zealand's housing crisis is so extreme now that such a proposal should be the one which is adopted, and that's the one we would prefer to see. So we're not too keen about the conditions which are attached to this bill, we'd like to see a simpler and more straightforward regime altogether. The other issue that I would mention is this. The bill talks about students, skilled migrants and other...
The member will resume his seat. David Seymour will stand, withdraw and apologise.
I stand, withdraw and apologise.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was saying that the other parts of the bill that we have some concerns about are those parts which refer to, and I'm reading here, students, skilled migrants and other persons temporarily resident in New Zealand for 12 months or longer will be granted approval to purchase a house on the condition that it is sold if they...
The member's time has expired. David Seymour.